saving your photos after you've done your editing and during your editing, you want to make sure that you are saving 4 different ways. Yes, that's 4. The original, you never want to save over top of, because that original, you want it to remain untouched in case something ever goes wrong. You can always get your original photo back and you can start over again. As you're editing, you're going to be building up layers, creating a Photoshop file. So this would be a Photoshop version. We would save that edited Photoshop version with all its layers, just in case you wanted to come back and tweak things, change things, add more things to it, etc. Then when you're finished doing your editing, you would save a high resolution version, which would be a JPEG file. And that one would be suitable for printing and can go fairly large depending on the quality of the photo as it was taken on the camera. And then the 4th one is after you watermark it with your name on it, then you would save that out as a low resolution photo. Again, this would be a JPEG, and that would be suitable for putting on your website for handing in and also for sharing on social media. So I'm going to show you some naming convention here, how I do mine, so that I am really clear as to what my names are. If my original photo, for example, is called image1001.jpg as it comes off the camera, when I do all my editing and I have my layers built up on it, I save that with the word edit behind it, and that would be the PSD file or the Photoshop document. Once I'm completely done, I would export that out as a high resolution JPEG. This would be suitable for sharing for people as well as printing. I put the word high in it and have it with the JPEG extension so that I can identify that this is a high resolution photo. And then lastly, I watermark it with my name and I save it out as a low resolution photo. I put the word low in the file name. This one is suitable for handing in onto your website as well. It would be suitable for sharing on social media, but would allow that people wouldn't be able to steal that photo and print it because the quality would not be there for it. I'm going to show you quickly how you go about doing that. Here's a photo. And so first thing I'm going to do with this photo, duplicate my background. Now this particular photo needs a little bit of work. It's kind of a neat technique that I did with zooming the camera as I was taking the photo. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually crop it. When I go to crop this photo, I'm going to get rid of this white area that's down at the bottom. Now, if you want it to fit into a frame, you should make sure that you're still cropping it on a ratio, like an 8:10 ratio, which is a 4:5. I'm going to use that, but I'm going to reverse it. So I'm going to use this little button here to reverse it so it's a 5:4 and going sideways. And then you can adjust it as to how much of that photo that you want to actually keep. You don't want to throw out a ton of it. Remember that as you throw out these pixels, you are reducing the quality of it, so you won't necessarily be able to still print it in a large format. I don't like that white part at the bottom, so I am going to crop it fairly small in this case. Once it's cropped, first adjustment that we do is the levels adjustment. Levels adjustment, you can try your auto adjustment. It sometimes does a really good job to do auto, but the manual way, take your black slider and drag it to where your black mountain begins. So I'm looking at where this mountain here on the left side is going up. And then the white slider, you want to be where the mountain ends. I got a real big white spike here, so it's probably in a pretty good spot. You can adjust your grays in between to give it a little bit more color or a little bit more contrast to it. Okay, so tweak your photo how you want it to be for your levels. Once you've done your levels, you may want to do another adjustment, which is your vibrance or your saturation. Keeping in mind that vibrance will not touch the orange tones as much. So vibrance is great when you have people in it so that their face doesn't get the fake suntan look. Saturation will touch all colors, including the oranges. So in this one, because there's no people and I don't have to worry about preserving my oranges, I could just saturate it a little bit if I wanted to bring out those colors a bit. Remember, a little goes a long ways. Now it's time to save that Photoshop version. So I would do a file, save as. I'm going to save to my computer. It will save me back to my exact same spot that I came out of, but do double check that you're in the right folder. And this is where you want to make sure that you add the word edit to that PSD file. Now, if your extensions aren't showing, I can show you separately how you would actually get your extensions to show. But you can see that it is going to save it here as a Photoshop file, and I'm adding the word edit into that. Do leave the number here so that for searching purposes, you can always find the original quickly when needed. I'm going to save that. I've already done this once, so it's asking me if I want to replace it. Then it's time to save my high resolution. So File, Export, Export As. Make sure that this says JPEG, and make sure normally your scale would be showing at 100% is what it would do. You can change your quality to be the best quality it can, so that would be great. Export that out. I would then call this my Edit High JPEG. So I'm adding the word high into it. My next step is to add my watermark to it. So my watermark, I'm going to drag over my transparent ping file, place it down in my corner, check mark it. There's my watermark. Remember, if you want to change the opacity of that watermark so it's not fully black, you can change its opacity a little bit, and you can get it so that it is fading out slightly. If you need to change it to white, then your Control-I will change it to white. Control-I will change it back to black. And for my low res, so File, Export, Export As. This time, to be a low res, there's a lot of tools that you can use here. But what I say is a great rule of thumb is look at your width and your height and how many pixels it is. Whichever one is the biggest number, just change it to be 800. It's kind of a good rule of thumb. This is going to make it into a small format, only 800 pixels. When you click anywhere else, it will automatically adjust that height. So you can see my photo is now 800 by 640. This particular one is actually scaling down to only 28% of its regular size. Look over here and see how big this file size is going to be, and aim for a couple hundred K, couple hundred kilobytes in size. Now, how you change that, you can't just change it right here. You have to change it by playing around with your quality. So in this case, I want to reduce it a little bit more. I would take, instead of great, I'd maybe go down to excellent. Take a look at it. Just like that, it's already under 200K. So I'm going to save this now by exporting. Remember, this is my low version. I've thrown out a lot of those pixels. I had almost 3,000 pixels to start with. I'm throwing them out. I'm changing my quality, and I'm moving my quality here down as well. It is still saying JPEG. That's important. Export that out. This time, put the word low into the file name. Check that you're in the same folder where you want to be. You should be able to now see some of your photos. So this 6669, you can see there's my original, there's my high, and there's my low. And what you're not seeing right now is the fact that I've also got my PSD file in there. Save it out. You've now got 4 versions of that file.